Hello and thanks for watching my video. In this video we're going to show the Cisco UCS integration with Microsoft System Center Operations Manager. I'm running an instance of System Center 2012 R2 with our Operations Manager management pack integrated. As we can see here, what we get is we now have a Cisco Unified Computing System add-in, and from here it has gone out and discovered via my management pack integration my lab environment. It shows the instance and gives me the web splash screen that I'm used to for going into a UCS manager, so I could directly pull up the KVM manager or launch the UCS manager. I also have the ability here to pull up the logical diagram information about my environment, so we'll go ahead and pull that up. And when this comes up, what we're going to see is the instance of my lab, and then we see hardware, we see the operating systems, and we see the logical software configuration. For example, if I open up the Service Profiles tab here, look at my root organization, which all of my stuff is done under the root, we see that everything is 100% healthy as far as my software configuration goes, and then we get our breakouts, our groupings based on alphabetical order of our various service profiles and templates. So here we see my boot from iSCSI, my boot from hard drive, my specific service profile templates here. If I zoom in on this, I can see the specific like demo server, my Hyper-V host 1 server, and I can click on those and get some details about those here, which tells me a little bit about how it was configured inside UCS Manager. As I mentioned, I could also drill in on the operating systems. This is no different than if you're running it on any other blade. We are an agentless system, so there is no special agent required, so just the regular SCOM agent is what's used. But also we have the ability to look at the actual hardware. As we can see at the top level, we've got some alerts going on, and they're related to my hardware, so let's take a look at that. I open up and I can see that I've got issues with a bunch of my equipment. Chassis 1 for fabric interconnects, FEXs, rack units, and if I were to click on any of these, I can expand out and I can look at the components that are healthy and the components in warning. So for example, on this chassis, if I look at healthy items, I can break into looking at the chassis itself and fan modules and power supplies and continue to drill in. Or if I come over here to what's having a warning, I can see that I'm getting warnings on, for example, power supplies and my blades. And to get more detail about that, of course, I could just simply click on one of these and get a little bit of detail here. But also I have the ability to go in here and look at the alert view of what's going on, and I can see all of my alarms in the system from here. And as you notice, I have lots and lots of power supply and fan problems. My lab, I don't have enough plugs in my lab, so half of my power supplies aren't plugged in, so it's yelling at me about that. So knowing that I can come in here, I can click on a specific fault, and I can take a look at the actual UCS fault code. So now I can relate that back if I'm working with Cisco TAC. It tells me the piece of equipment that's having problems and allows me to drill in and look at that. The integration here is based on our API, so it's bidirectional. So if somebody were to come into my lab right now and start plugging in my power supplies, we would see all of these alarms automatically clear. So it is bidirectional. It doesn't just trigger an alarm and sit there forever until I acknowledge the alarm. It can auto clear. As far as the alarms and things like that, when you install the pack onto the SCOM server, you'll get the ability for this UCS agent configuration. And if I pull this up, what this allows me to do is do some fine-tuning to the communications being fed from UCS Manager into SCOM. And so it allows me to do two different functions. Function 1 is filtering, and the other one is remapping. So if I look at the severity mapping, what we find out is that inside UCS, we have more levels of alarms and information that can be presented to you than what you have in SCOM. So this allows you to, at a high level, go in and remap various alarms. You can also go into the specific UCS instance and you can add expressions saying that certain alarms, for example, those power supply alarms that I'm having, I could set faults of certain type are not going to go ahead and show up in the system, because I could go ahead and filter those out. So I could come in here and you know, look at the various alarms and type in the F0327 alarm that was going on there and remap that or filter that. And here's where I can go in and do filters. So I can remap certain alarms. So I can take that from being a major alarm that was showing up in my UCS manager and make that maybe just informational, or I could fully block that alarm by building a filter. So hopefully that's a decent little introduction to the System Center Operation Manager integration that we have with Cisco UCS. I hope you come back and look for more videos here in the future.